everyone. In this discussion/presentation, I'll be explaining the 3 tiers of school-wide positive behavioral interventions and supports, or for short, SWPBIS. And I will also be discussing how they differ in terms of support, assessment, and intensity. And I will also be going over a sample data sheet and talk a bit about what it might mean for a school's intervention system. So for PBIS, it is a part of a multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS, which focuses on promoting positive student behavior through prevention, teaching, and consistent reinforcement. So according to one of my references, Bambara and Kern for 2021, PBIS is designed to build proactive systems of support that help all students succeed, not just those with behavior problems. So we're going to get started first with Tier 1, universal supports. So Tier 1 is the foundation of PBIS and includes universal supports that apply to all students and staff. The goal is to create a positive school climate where expectations are clearly taught, modeled, and reinforced consistently. So some examples might include teaching behavior expectations like be safe, be respectful, be responsible. I remember hearing this a bunch when I was in school. So having a school-wide reward system or posting visuals around campus are great examples of this. And assessment at this level is ongoing and involves school-wide data like office discipline, referrals, attendance, and surveys to measure school climate. According to another reference I have, Horner, Sugai, and Anderson in 2010, when Tier 1 is implemented effectively, about 80% of students respond well to these universal supports. Now moving on to Target 2, which is targeted supports. So Tier 2 is designed for students who are at risk or not responding to Tier 1 alone. So these interventions are more targeted and small group based. Some examples may include check-in, check-out programs, social skills groups, or some mentoring systems. And these supports still use positive reinforcements, but are more focused on students who need that extra guidance. So data collection for this tier often involves tracking specific students' behavior trends, using tools like daily progress reports or point sheets. From the resource that I used previously, Bambara and Current 2021, they note that for this tier, these interventions focus on teaching skills directly related to the function of the problem behavior. So like teaching how to ask for help and handle frustration in an appropriate way. And for Tier 3, intensive individualized supports. So this is for students with the most significant and persistent behavioral challenges. These supports are individualized and based on functional behavioral assessments, or what we know them as FBAs. And at this level, a behavior intervention plan, a BIP, is created that includes proactive strategies, replacement skill instruction, and consistent reinforcement systems. So again, from that last reference that I used, Bambara and Kern 2021, Tier 3 often involves collaboration between teachers, specialists, families, and sometimes outside professionals to ensure consistency and progress monitoring. So assessments at this level are more formal, data-driven, often involving direct observation, ABC data collection, and ongoing evaluation to adjust supports as needed. And lastly, we go over the analyzing the data for the 50% tier for Tier 1, 30% for Tier 2, and 20% for Tier 3. So looking at the data distribution, this suggests that the school's universal supports aren't strong enough. Ideally, as researcher has said, from my reference, Horner et al. 2010, and another one, McIntosh et al. 2014, they really explained to me that we'd expect around 80% of students to be successful within Tier 1 interventions alone, and 10 to 15% to be in the Tier 2. And only about 5% should be within Tier 3 support. So in this case, the high percentage of students is in Tiers 2 and 3, which would mean that behavioral expectations may not be clearly taught or reinforced school-wide, or that staff may need additional training in implementing Tier 1 strategies with more fidelity. So some recommendations that are going to be offered can be to reteach and reinforce school-wide expectations frequently, use consistent positive reinforcement systems across all classrooms, review school-wide data to identify specific settings or times where behavioral issues spike, and lastly, provide professional development to ensure all staff understands PBIS procedures. So improving Tier 1 systems will likely reduce the number of students needing Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports, which is the overall goal for a healthy PBIS framework. I went a little over the time limit, but I kept stumbling on my words, but we're just going to keep it like this. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to respond to everybody else's discussions and see what you guys say. Thank you.